So I want to talk about what Call of Duty Ghost has done well. And, I tried to do this as a little 3 minute short, and I tried to do 5 things that they did well, and I just couldn't quite get the video down to the proper size. So instead, I'm going to, do a little bit of a longer video. And Call of Duty Ghost does have a variety of issues. Thermal scopes, the camping, the oversized maps, and yeah, those are legitimately issues. And you can build yourself to deal with those issues, but they are still issues. I'm not gonna lie and sit there and pretend they don't exist just because I like the game. Whether your skill set is built around dealing with those or not, there is some things that Call of Duty Ghosts actually does really well. One of the very first things that will stick out to players as soon as they start the game is the UI. The UI just has a lot of nifty, it's very intuitive, it's very good. The HUD in particular is where it really excels. There's nothing in the HUD that has to be explained twice. If you charge a grenade, the reticle even has this wonderful little charge up animation. It's circle of 4 parts, and you can see each circle turn orange. And well, when it hits the final one, if you're holding down a grenade, it blows up. If you're charging up a 9 bang, the 9 bang is fully charged. If you're using a canister bomb, the canister bomb is fully ready to go on the 4th thing. It's like one of the first Call of Duties to have contextual lean, which honestly is so. It really doesn't help campers like you think it does. It does help you if you want to peek a camper, though, I will say that. But, there's a little orange arrow, and it's like, boom, it's easy to understand. Like, oh, this little orange arrow is telling me that if I aim down sights, I'm going to lean this direction or that direction. Real simple stuff to understand. It's not mind-blowing by any means, but it's just the nice little touch of details, especially like with the ammo counter, because with the ammo counter, it's not a bullet bar like you would see in Halo where each individual bullet lined up, all that, which those are good. Okay, those are good at what they do. They are certainly much better than the round counter, and the round counter is pretty okay too. But the round counter, you have to look at it and be like, oh, I have this. And sometimes round counters tell you how many magazines you have, and sometimes they don't. And Halo, they did it twice. They had the bullet counter, the bullet bar, and then on the gun itself, sometimes the gun has a physical thing to show you how many rounds it has. Like the battle rifle holds 36 rounds, and as you fire, the round count goes down. Same with the assault rifle. I want to say it's 32 or 60, depending on game. And you can watch the number go down as you fire, but then the audio cue doesn't really match the number. Now, you can sit there and look at your ammo counter with Call of Duty and most Call of Duty games, or you can watch on Call of Duty Ghost, the bullet bar on Call of Duty Ghost goes down and it shrinks, and so even when you're not looking at the ammo counter at all, out of the corner of your eye you can always tell how much ammo you have left, and it's just a very small attention to detail that I really wish Sledgehammer had stuck with, because it's a really good idea. It's so much of a good idea that everybody else should have copied it. Unfortunately, very few games have copied the same idea. And, it's a redesign of a pre-existing idea, because again, Halo has the bullet bar, but I have a little bit of a cold here, so bear with me. But the health bar style that they do it is just easier on the eyes to be looking at the corner of your eye. So, if you're looking at the screen, you're seeing it shrink down here, but you're still able to look forward and play the game. Oh, Jesus, this cold's killing me. This actually drags us into the second thing that it did really well. And the second thing that they did really well was the lighting element. Nothing feels grainy or gritty unless it's intentional. They don't, have too much film blur. They don't have any of that stuff. They just have, they have bright colors when they want to have bright colors. They have dark overtones when they have dark overtones. If you're on a map that feels like there's a lot of visual cues that's like overwhelming, it's because they wanted you to feel that way. And it's so much so that every map in the game, even the DLC maps, they all feel different to each other because they rely on, not just audio cues and the shape of the map itself, but the very lighting. And the very lighting of itself adjusts the nature of how the maps feel. And because of that, Call of Duty Ghosts is a really good looking game no matter what console you play it on, whether you play it on PS3 or PS4 or PS5 now, or if you play it on any of the Xbox consoles, it looks really good. If you take the PS3 version of Call of Duty Ghost and you put it up against, Call of Duty Vanguard, guess what? Call of Duty Ghost looks better, okay? Call of Duty Ghost looks better, not only more so than the games that came before it, but the games that came after it. It's actually one of the best looking Call of Duties of all time, and it's actually kind of frustrating to go from playing Call of Duty Ghosts to playing Advanced Warfare, because Advanced Warfare tones all of that down, and Advanced Warfare looks terrible. It just looks awful. People who at the time complained that Call of Duty Ghosts didn't look like a Call of Duty game, which is a shame because it looked better than most Call of Duty games. And then you go to Advanced Warfare where they took all the visual cues of, I really can't call them cues, visual elements of Call of Duty, before, and Advanced Warfare just looks like fucking crap. And if they had done the same thing that they did with Call of Duty Ghosts, it probably would look better. Now, the third thing that they do really well is actually the class system itself. The class system itself is actually a lot better designed than you remember. It takes the concept of Black Ops 2 and the Pick 10 system, and it kind of basically turns it into a Pick 15. And so, if you want to run around with only one gun and you don't care about anything else, you can. If you want to run around with nothing but a knife and all perks, you absolutely can. If you want to run around with no weapons and just a bunch of grenades, you can do that too. You have a strike package, you have, you have your assault package, and you have your specialist class, and all three of those are very powerful. You don't feel like you're being, stabbed in the back just because you pick one over the other. And so this class system is actually really well done, and I would love to see it in newer Call of Duty games, but unfortunately you never will, because it's just kind of frowned upon and looked upon as bad, just because there are some outlier elements like the thermal scope needing to be toned down, the tracker scope being a little too much. And again, you can build your classes to defeat those things. The IEDs obviously are a problem, but, at the time I would say that Call of Duty players weren't really that good. You had, like, all those, quick scope, feeds and everything. Most of those are fake, okay? Like the Call of Duty player base as a whole, like a lot of those players were not actually good at playing Call of Duty. If you take a look at like Ninja, okay, I guess that guy made a comeback, because esports and Advanced Warfare, I put his career in the shitter, and he fucking quit, because he was never a good player to begin with, and that was right around the time where I was actually starting to become a good Call of Duty player. Uh, with stuff like that, like those guys, a lot of them left and quit, not because Advanced Warfare is so bad, uh, because games came out after Advanced Warfare that were actually pretty damn good, and they still quit. Okay, it wasn't Infinite Warfare, it wasn't Advanced Warfare, even those games were terrible, because, Black Ops 3 came out, and everybody loves and praises that game for how good it is and everything. Those guys didn't come back during Modern Warfare 2019, they didn't come back during Cold War, they didn't come back during any of these games where the player base was good. But the moment we have Modern Warfare 3 and was it Black Ops 6, where everybody's good because everything's now narrowed down to one button press, suddenly they all come out of the fucking woodworks because they're not good players. Okay. And you look at all these guys and everything, and they complain about these things, but in the class system, there's actually workarounds. There's ways to defeat things, even the things that are the most problematic of all. It's just they didn't have the skills or the capacity to defeat them. Okay, so the class system is actually really good. The equipment, the weapons, everything, the gunplay. Even though the Honey Badger is really good, if you use the Daewoo K7, you'll absolutely melt them. There's other guns like that. Every gun has its own distinct, unique advantage. The only gun class that feels like it needs a little work is the Marksman class. But even then, if you know what you're doing, you can make those weapons work. Even the shotguns are good in that game. Every weapon class in that game is really good. And some weapons, like the canister bomb, is really bad. The grenade launcher that shoots 2 timed grenades is not very good. But most things in that game are really well designed, surprisingly. Some things are a little too easy to use, of course, like the IEDs. But, I mean, we've had bouncing Bettys and Claymores in the past, and if you just build your class around not having to deal with those, or better yet, just, get used to the maps and understand how the maps work, most of the time you can avoid them entirely. With that being said, let's talk about the maps, okay? Because, yes, the maps are too large. Okay, that is a huge problem. Stonehenge is huge. It's a lot of fun because it's mostly wide open, but it is still too large. Like, if these maps were just shrunk down a little bit and, kind of toned down a little, they would be a lot more popular. They'd be a lot better. And some of these maps, some of them are pretty okay, are actually not that bad, and some of them are terrible, and then you have like the dynamic effects, which are on the surface really cool, but after the first 2 times or so they become really annoying, and you have some maps that are not great, like Crisis is not that great, but then you have other maps, Strike Zone was real popular, of course, and the maps, like, some of the small maps on that game are medium-sized maps on other Call of Duties. So when you get some of those really large ones, it's a little overwhelming. And again, Stonehenge, it's a little too open, but makes it fun for anybody who wants to do the sniper stuff. So there is that. I think the biggest problem is that they were so sure about, making things unique and distinct, they forgot to make them good. And that's the funny part, is a lot of people nowadays complain about the 3-lane maps because that's all they are. They're just 3 hallways that people run down and try to kill each other. And Call of Duty Ghost actually had the right design philosophy about 3-lane maps, because their design philosophy is a 3x3. And so they have these maps where they have 3 lanes going one way, and they have 3 lanes going the other way, whether it's diagonal or horizontal and vertical, doesn't matter. And so you have these things where the best parts of the maps in them intersect with each other and are the areas where most people fight. And you look at Strike Zone, which is real popular. It was a 3-lane map, okay, with by 2 lanes. So it had 2 lanes bisecting the 3 lanes. And it did that with a interesting premise. It did that with verticality. And so a lot of these maps, they have verticality. There are people up here. There are people down there. There are people to your left. There are people to your right. You know, there are people straight in front of you. There are people behind you. Okay, there's a lot more depth to the flow of the maps. And it's actually intuitive if you just, you know, get used to one particular map. Unfortunately, the biggest problem was, you know, of course, the IEDs would break up the map and everything, but if you got used to the map layout, you could go around those, right? Well, the biggest problem was they made Strike Zone a 24/7 map, and nobody took the time to actually learn the other maps. And it's actually a shame, because this brings us into the fourth thing they did really well. The DLCs were fair. I mean, $1.99 for Snoop Dogg or Sergeant Gunnery to scream at you all match. That's pretty fucking cool. Okay. You know, you had other like miscellaneous tiny DLCs that are whatever, like a unicorn skin or, you know, an astronaut fucking outfit. Which, yeah, but, you know, if you look at the astronaut outfit, it's not as egregious as, like, the gingerbread man. You know, it's not egregious as some of these skins that are around nowadays that are pretty fucking egregious. You know, like the astronaut man looks, well, like a military astronaut on a space station. What else is there really to say? There's nothing to say. And in the context of the video game, there's a whole mission that takes place on a space station, so it makes sense. You know, but then the other DLCs, you have like an Aztec temple. And what do you think of when you think of, you know, guns, miniguns, Aztecs? You think of the Predator. And so, yeah, that is a in-map kill streak that you can get where you can go invisible and shoot laser beams and like eviscerate people. It's really fucking cool, you know. And it's not game breaking because it's basically a maniac juggernaut just reskinned as the Predator, and it's a pretty cool idea. And so you have a lot of these maps that have cool ideas, and they all stick out. You have one where there's Michael Myers running around in a swamp. Okay, I believe there's another one of Jason Voorhees too, if I remember correctly. Okay, and so you have these maps where it's like, they're really cool. There's a mine shaft map, you know, that like takes place in a California mine shaft, and you can ride the mine cart. Is it really a good idea? No, because everybody hoses you with bullets when you do. But it's still cool that they added it in. You know, there's a map where it's like a China Palace type deal, you know, where it's like a gray quarter of, you know, China, the Great China Wall. You know, if you guys are familiar with history at all, like there's really cool maps. They even took a shipment map and they added things to it so that it's not just shipment like it starts out, but it slowly opens up, because then you know, then it gets even more crazy, and you have like a spinning wheel, and the spinning wheel just gives people random kill streaks. It takes the chaos of shipment and makes it more crazy. You know, rather than shying away or trying to tone it down, they're like, what can we do to make this more insane? Oh, this is what we can do. You know, this is what people like about shipment, so let's make it more crazy. And they did that really well, and I wish they'd bring that back, actually. You know, so the DLCs are really good. And the last thing that they did really well, okay, is the layout system. Okay, and basically the premise is pretty simple. There are people that are going to camp. There are people that are going to ruin things, or people that are going to mess things up. And so you don't want to spawn in the same spot over and over and be killed in your own spawn just because somebody's camping there. Well, they made it so that you respawn near your allies. Now, sometimes your allies are stupid and they respawn you in the middle of danger. And the simple fix to that is, well, to play with your friends. And if you play with your friends are going to know not to spawn you in stupid situations.